Just trying to get in the chat room so I can keep an eye on it myself, and I have no freaking idea how you do it.
All right, everyone, here we go. Hey, everybody, it is Friday. We survived to another long weekend. I hope you all are ready for the ET Connection with R Keith Andrews. We have our special guest, the lovely and talented Nicole Sakic, with us as well. Let's give a shout out to everybody who is here so far. Jurassic Joey, Cat Chaser, Horror Realm, at work but tuning on in. That is dedication, my friend. Brent Lewis is here, everyone, which means we can officially start the show. Nathan Allen, how you doing, buddy? Steam Train Mark, please let us know how tomorrow is looking. And if we are alive, we'd appreciate that since you live in the future. Lori, good to see you here. Tina, thank you for coming on in. Jeff Garvey. Yeah, former first baseman of the San Diego Padres right there. Jeff Garvey. I think the LA Dodgers too. Molotov, good to have you here, my friend. Scotty, always a pleasure to see you. Worsley, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Shar. Hi, Lord of Land. Triple M, good to see you. Derek Edwards, thank you for coming on in. Chris Jarvis, always a pleasure. Ghost 66, good to see you here. Yes, we have Mr. DB Cooper, everyone. He hasn't been arrested yet. Gorgeous Jules, good to see you. Larry, thank you for coming on in. R Keith Andrews, there he is, Inner Voice Enterprises. The R Keith Andrews right there. The gentle and furlong R Keith Andrews. The Ronald Penton is here, everyone. The Ronald Penton. Good to have you here, my friend. Cable Guy Matt is here. You know what that means? That means you can exercise your freedom and your right to get a free piece of coaxial cable autographed by Cable Guy Matt. Limit one per household. You cannot buy these in stores, people. Make sure you hit up Cable Guy Matt for your free piece of coaxial cable today. Goof On Radio here. Goof On Richie G is here. Yes, Richie G. Yes. I'm a little humbled right now. My Canucks lost tonight in Game 7. The gorgeous and talented Denali Princess, welcome to the show. Gnome Squatch, good to see you here. Darkside Jeff, good to have you here. Thank you for coming on in. Hello, the awesome Annie Svensson. Nicole Sakic, you're looking lovely and talented in the chat room tonight. The best man looking with a best looking man with a mustache. We have Chef Chemist right there. Yes. Yes, fantastic mustache on him. Who else we got? Northern UFOs, good to see you here. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Good. Good. Hi, R Keith.
How we doing?
I'm good. I don't know what the hell to say anymore. I really don't. Oh, I was screaming at my television for the last 2 hours.
How'd that work for you?
Well, they lost. They lost. Hey, Lufon, good to have you, man. Thank you for coming in.
Dave, I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm used to this feeling.
You've at least won a World Series before, okay? The Canucks are 50 years without a Stanley Cup. They've never won one.
I got bad news for you. The Cubs have never done well on ice like that, like the Canucks have.
The Cubs, it was like 100 years, Dave. You still got 50 to go. You'll be all right.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
They're the only sports.
Wow. Yeah, you're liked.
I like another.
Your connection's getting a little shaky right now. I don't know if it's gonna.
That's the translation for "I'm going to hang up on you."
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, Big Cat, good to have you here. Chefy Poo, we do not do open lines here. I hate phone calls. The Jim Christie is here, everyone. The Jim Christie. All right, there we go here. All right, we got to wait for Bill WD-40, everyone, to lube us on in to tonight's show so we can slide on in with ease and efficiency. And there he is, Bill WD-40, everyone. We've officially been lubed up for tonight. Human Carl's here, everyone. Human Carl. Yeah, let's give Human Carl a round of applause. He is one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show, not to be mistaken for Alien Carl. Human Carl, everyone. Human Carl. We love our veterans around here. Lee Bodge, good to see you here. Spookles the Cat, the best damn social media person in radio today. There she is. All right, guys, we got 10 seconds. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. Hit that thumbs up if you could. Hi, Zach. By the way, I love your Instagram, man, with all those cars. It's awesome. Music is on. Support us by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com, doing a little shopping at the SOR Vault, as well as joining the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Hey, Devin. We're going to have some fun tonight. You guys ready? I am. Let's do this thing right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. I welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. On Twitter, we are at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Here we go again as we all gather aboard the Woo train for another exciting edition of the ET Connection with R Keith Andrews. Near the beginning of each month, Keith comes into SOR territory to break down everything extraterrestrial. Yes, taking your questions from our chat rooms and on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. It's not really off limits, because we do get into some deep and sometimes often strange things with Keith when it comes to dealing with aliens. So if you've got aliens, this is a show to listen to. We are also joined tonight by experiencer and researcher Nicole Sakic, who helps out Grant Cameron, my idol, my hero, and she will help us out along the way with Keith as well. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. R. Keith Andrews, always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How you doing?
Not bad at all. How about you?
I'm doing good. My hair is getting longer. It is full of life and comfort. So I am doing great. It's just one of those things, man, where we got a great show with you tonight. And so many people each month, man, hit me up and say, when's Keith coming back on? When's Keith coming back on? Well, here he is. Here he is. How many aliens you meet up with lately?
I've been a little preoccupied with, and they've actually left me alone for a little bit here. Personal problems on the home front that I had to deal with, and couldn't exactly take off for their interactions for the most part.
Oh.
Every now and again, I get stuck on the planet. But that being said, we do have some interesting changes happening. Not the least of which is there's a fair chunk of buzz as to who is to blame for this mess we've got on this planet. And I'll tell you, some of the people up there are getting really agitated about having people point the finger and saying it's your fault that our planet is messed up. Especially when you talk to the Tormenons, they're pretty cut and dried about it. They say their opinion is simple. If they were messing up this planet, there wouldn't be life left on, that would solve their problem.
Very true.
Not nice people.
You sound a little fiery tonight. You doing okay? I mean, we're not used to hearing this type of spark out of you right off the bat.
Well, we can shut her down, and I'll go get a different type of coffee.
All right, let's bring in our good friend of this show, Nicole Sakic. who is joining us for tonight. And the reason why Nicole is here is not only is she an experiencer and a fantastic researcher helping out the legendary Grant Cameron, but, you know, Keith is also working. He's on duty until the top of the hour. So if all of a sudden he has to rush away to work, Nicole's here to make sure I don't get lonely. And that's the truth. Nicole, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you, Dave, and hello, Keith. And I like being Robin to Keith's Batman. It's kind of cool, you know. He goes off and does his thing. I fill in a little bit. The world is right.
You got that right. You got that right. And it's always a pleasure to have your knowledge thrown in here as well. Now, Keith, you know, we've been going through a lot on this planet. We know that there's a lot of political strife. There's a lot of, you know, health strife out there. But you know what? One of the things that I find interesting through this whole COVID-19 pandemic, statistically speaking, and I know you're not one big on statistics, but statistically speaking, UFO sightings are on a huge increase right now, because instead of going out and going to the bars and restaurants and clubs all over the place, people are sitting on their patio and in their backyard, staring up at the sky, seeing some strange things.
Which makes total sense when you think about it. Now, if only we could get people to put their cell phones down a little and pay attention while they're walking.
Well, you can't ask for miracles, my friend. You can't ask for miracles.
Trust me on this one. After the number of what people call miracles that I've seen and gone through, you really can.
Keith, what makes, you know, the fact that more people are seeing UFOs, does that give credence, in your opinion, to the entire phenomena from those who maybe weren't believers?
The ones that weren't believers are now looking and going, oh my gosh, I've seen a UFO, and are now sitting there going, well, maybe it is real. That does certainly help lend the credence to it. You know, sadly, we're still running into much of the same problems, but it does help people on the whole accept the fact that people are not alone on this planet anymore. Well, in all fairness, they haven't been for a long time. But yeah, it definitely... Go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
It definitely adds credence to the overall belief structure. I mean, you'll have the statistics on that a little better, but I do know that the percentage of people that now believe in UFOs has got to have climbed by at least a few percent. You know, as compared to what it was a year ago.
Right. Okay. So when we do that, what do you think of this whole debate where through this whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Disclosure type movement that everybody thinks we're in, that we're supposed to be separating UFOs from aliens, that we're not allowed to mention aliens anymore because we don't know if anything is aliens unless you've actually had an experience with aliens, then it's always aliens. So what's your take on this?
Well, I guess I'm supposed to be polite on the radio, so basically, take the idea of not saying it's an alien. I do agree. Aliens and UFOs are two different things. A UFO literally means unidentified flying object. Now, if you look up in the air and you don't recognize what an air balloon is, you don't know what that is. You look up, that's a UFO. Doesn't mean it's operated by an alien. But the fact that you're not allowed to say alien is like many of the words that many different parts of the world turn around and say, don't use that word. You know, I like the way Shakespeare put it when he said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Call it what you will, it's the same thing.
Nicole, what do you think?
Sorry, I had to navigate my phone. What was the direct question?
In regards to not being able to use the word aliens and UFOs together.
Well, I think that's a very cautious, safe, non-scary way to approach it. But I also think to put it bluntly, it's just a cop-out. I think it's a cop-out. I think millennials tend to just already jump the gun and say, well, duh, we're talking UFOs. We're really meaning aliens. Anyways, so come on, all you boomers, quit making us stay within the lines of whatever boring thoughts that, we can't just say that it's aliens. We gotta, it's only UFOs. There, that's my 11:15 in the middle of the night thought.
No, and
I'm not holding.
And I understand that, okay? And I understand that, Keith. I bring you in here for the comment here. So, when you think about that, you're somebody who has had ET contact pretty much your entire life. So much so that you lived a much different life than everybody else out there. So, for you, do you find it a little bit personally insulting? Are you offended?
No. It takes a lot to offend me. I mean, in all fairness, we found out last month there are things that will, but that ain't one of them. The way I figure is people don't want to call it an alien. Find a different word for it, but, understand if they're not from Earth, they're alien. If they're not from your area of the world, they're alien to your end of the world. And rest assured, if they are green-skinned with reverse knees, they are not human.
Very true. Question coming from Greco right off the bat. He's kicking things off. Will humanity, Keith, be involved in an alien war soon? If so, who, what, where, when, why?
Well, let's paint that real clear for you. If the off-worlders decide to assault Earth, okay, now number one, they've got no interest in it. But if they were to do it, I did have a discussion with them just a few weeks back, actually, about that. They will fire off a subquantum EMP pulse and wipe out every electronic component, whether it's attached or not, on the planet. They will do that from the far side of Mars. Then they will pull in to the far side of the moon, and they will start dropping our own garbage that's floating around, like the satellites and the debris that's around Earth. They will start dropping it from orbit onto whatever it lands on. Then they will come down and clean up. Now, by then you figure out what kind of shape the planet's in, but people won't even know the war started until it's over. Because you're looking at a matter of less than an hour, and the war's over. So, I mean, that's basically what you're looking at if you look at an alien-inspired, an alien-initiated war. Fortunately, that's not what they're here for. No, I'm sort of a mixed opinion on that, but that's another issue.
Okay, so...
But that's what you're looking at as far as the war goes.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into it, because I'll be honest with you, and this has nothing to do with Greco's question or anything like that. It just kind of brought up a whole point. But we seem so invested in the fact that we're going to have war with aliens. When they show up, it's going to be a war. Everything is a war. We're going to fight them. And, it's going to be like Independence Day. And, we're going to brawl them. And then Will Smith is going to fly an F-18 right into a spacecraft and knock it out of the sky. I mean, we see that all the time. Is that just the human nature, or do these extraterrestrials really want to take over their planet? Because I don't buy it, okay? I don't buy it at all. They've had thousands of years to take over this planet, and they haven't. Okay?
Just a categorical across the board, they've got no functional interest in taking over the planet. That would be first and foremost. But addressing this ID4 thing about going up and uploading a virus onto an alien computer, I want you to consider this. Doing that, going up to an alien computer which uses a biomagnetic holographic interface, trying to use a state-of-the-art Terran binary computer to upload a virus is like trying to use an abacus to upload a virus onto a modern computer. Okay, only they'd have more luck with the abacus.
Very true. Very true. So, with that being said, look, I'm not saying that all ETs are good. I'm not saying that they are bad. I think that they're getting a bad rap personally. And I can say this, okay? They would have got us with muskets, swords, and bows and arrows, and maybe the odd cannonball before we got nuclear weapons, before we had anything a little bit more advanced. And yet so many people forget about that, Keith.
Oh, heavens, they'd have taken us. If they'd have really wanted it at that point, they'd have done it when mankind was still walking around with stone axes.
True. So where do you think that fear comes from?
Sad to say, the human race has evolved to say, or devolved, I'm not sure which, where they think everything and everybody wants to kill in order to get ahead. Mankind hasn't figured out that it's easier to make technological advances if you quit shooting at each other. Okay, the off-worlders did figure it out. Unfortunately, they still shoot at each other anyway, but that's another problem. But it comes from mankind's very violent origins and what they were designed for in the first place. See, mankind was built for war in the first place, which is where a lot of that aggression comes from. But people do have the choice to get along. Okay, and the big thing that people have to realize is if we go back even, and I'm probably off on the dates, but even 50 years ago, they said you would never have a United Nations. It would never happen. It did. You know, Canada and the U.S. were never countries that could have ever existed. And I mean, heck, if we go back far enough, you've got Scotland where they had the clans that would never unite. So, you know, the off-worlders eventually will make contact in a way that is globally recognized without firing a shot. Now, mankind still got this brilliant idea. Let's shoot at an off-worlder and then ask if it's friendly. I'm not sure, but I think that's a mixed message.
Nicole Sackich, I want to bring you in here for a second. You know, through the research that you do with Grant Cameron and you know, your own personal experiences and people you have talked to throughout the field, are you getting tired of the threat phenomena, or do you believe that there is something there?
With it being a threat, personally, I've never experienced anything that I would say was harmful or threatening. I mean, experiences can be fearful or catch you off guard, I think, and that can be dealt with, though, and processed. So, like you process any other feelings and emotions that you have, I think you can choose to move on from it. But the threat narrative that it's, you know, like some bad sci-fi movie or some good sci-fi movies, I can't bash that way because there are some good ones, but the people eaters or the soul suckers or all of that, I don't buy into that. So it does peeve me off, and I am tired of the threat narrative coming out of TTSA or military associated people or acronyms or just the general public going, oh, well, any kind of incursion is a threat. And it's like, well, yes, duh, it is. But please quit staying on the surface of this phenomenon and talk to experiencers that have been dealing with this for their entire life, not just since 2003 or 2017. Let's go back.
Exactly. But I mean, for people, I mean, we can't make it all sunshine and roses, though. because there are people who have had some very horrific experiences that have led not only to really, really distasteful ET contact and abduction, to my labs, to everything that is very painful and traumatizing, Nicole.
I agree. And I think that's where the two sides of this coin have to realize they're the same coin, and we want to help each other. And that's why we need to lend our support to the great groups out there, like the MUFON Experiencer Response Team or Ryan Stacy with Tessa. I mean, there are groups out there doing good work with experiencers to help them process through the post-traumatic stress of experiences. And we have to also educate people that not every experience or every taken scenario is that scary Hollywood entertainment, souped up, horrible, scary freak show. It's not always that. But there are some terrible, frightening experiences, and there are better educated people to talk about that. I need more education when it comes to those experiences. But that's also where it gets murky with conspiracy theories and what our government is actually up to. And we're never going to get to the bottom of it unless we believe these experiencers and what they've gone through. And we have to rally our support behind that.
Your thoughts, Keith?
Number one, I agree with most of that. The one thing people have to realize is there are some pretty horrific individuals out there, but you cannot effectively look at a given race and go, you're all bad. It's like going and looking at an individual country on Earth and going, everybody from that country is a bad person. Okay, because there are exceptions in every group. You take a look at one of the most violent races that I've run into, which happen to be Tormenon, because the Tormenon are a reptilian race. They are descended from the Drakes, and they're related to Strazazian, but they are mercenaries, and they don't care who they kill, who they kidnap, or who they eat. You know, if they're getting paid, they'll do it. You know, now that being said, when you brought up the issue of some of these soul eaters and what have you, that's where we go into a slightly different area, but they exist as well. That's the big problem. Okay. As for what the government's up to, I do agree. You're not going to get a straight answer out of them. And if people keep looking at experiencers and going, you're completely off your nut, because that doesn't happen, you're not going to get a look at what's going on. You know, it's like I've told you before, Dave. My life is far more like science fiction than it is reality.
Very true. But for most experiencers out there, as we got 30 seconds before we go to break, Keith, for most experiencers, sci-fi is what they're experiencing.
Yes. Absolutely. You know, and when you get a researcher, you know, when you get some of the researchers, and you're going to have to forgive me because I forgot the name. It's Nicole, I think, that's on the show with us here. You know, when you take a look at the experience or at the researchers that are actually watching what's going on, right? If the researcher has an open mind, they can actually sort through a lot of the hits.
Right, Keith, hold on right there. Keep that thought. We'll be back with the R Keith Andrews, the ET Connection special guest. Nicole Sakich is with us tonight. Here we go. Right after this on Spaced Out Radio, the ET Connection continues. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave.
Hi. You know, Keith, that was interesting what you were just saying right there when you said when researchers start, or experiencers that also research, start to find their way through this haze. And it makes sense. I learned a new term, and it's called closing the loop. And it's sort of what I describe it as is it's when experiencers go after and chase their own experience and come to realize that it's not just a singular event, that it's a thread through their entire life. And they come to a sort of agreement with the phenomenon and an acceptance of it, and it changes their whole perspective. So,
absolutely. And then the funny thing there, Nicole, and my apologies for forgetting your name, but unfortunately for me, that does happen regularly. When you get researchers that actually, whether they're an experiencer themselves or an experiencer themselves or not, when you start following the patterns and you start realizing it's not just that one weird person in the back alley that has cats for friends that is the experiencer. Experiencers come from every single walk of life. And most of them would just as soon not have it. I
agree with you there. And that's what I mean for those that, and it might sound egotistical of me to say it this way, but those brave enough to chase down their experience like that, end up with different results than those who just choose to stay in the one event that might have happened. So.
Oh, absolutely. And it gets to be it becomes a real problem in a sense, because once you realize that it's not just one event, right? And it's an event that crosses over. Like, I had the experience some time back of running into somebody that I did not remember meeting ever, right? Because they've been traveling from somewhere down in the States, I forget exactly where, but ran into them up here in Kelowna, where I live, up in BC, Canada. And we both recognized each other, and we could not for the life of us figure out how, until we ended up bridging the conversation of alien abductions. Turned out we had ended up meeting on the consortium flagship. And the only reason we knew that is we looked at the experience and the people we'd run into. And it's like, I'll tell you, talk about a wake-up call. When I talk about having friends in high places, I'm not referring to political placement.
That's interesting. Before I related all my paranormal experiences to ufology, in my late teens, I had a series of precog dreams, and they kind of evolved over the course of a few weeks, and then they stopped for 2 months. And in this dream, it was, me with my family, and we were not in our hometown, but we were doing regular family things, eating dinner, harassing my sister. And I met this couple, this brother and this sister in this dream. And I hung out with them and played volleyball, and we went to a bar, and, I was underage. So that was even funny, because I was like, I snuck in a bar in my dream. That was great. Well, 3 months later, I'm on a family vacation, and this sequence, which I just said, it was like a 6-hour long deja vu. And I met this brother and sister, and it just all played out before me. And I've often wondered now if there's some correlation with that, and if I could get a hold of that, the two of them, if we could have that high strangeness conversation. And if they would admit to having any high strangeness on their end, it was just too much and too vivid and too real for me to deny.
Well, that's just it. I mean, and realistically, that's where we get the problem. is when you start going, well, where's your proof? And I mean, I do hope maybe you'll luck out, Nicole, and maybe this couple of kids that you met back then happen to be listening in and get this message and go, okay, Dave, we're trying to track down Nicole. This is who we are. Can we get a hold of her? I mean, that would be a reunion to really look at.
All right, guys, here we go.
Well,
Here we go. Nicole letting her woo hang out.
That sounds bad.
It totally sounds bad. Here we go. Music's on. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight is underway. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us on this woo-filled night, and it's always great to have you here. Remember, if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with R Keith Andrews. It is the ET Connection as we do this thing pretty much close to the beginning of each month here on the mighty SOR, getting into all things extraterrestrial. Hey, you think you got aliens? You probably do. Keith's going to tell us all about it. If you have a question, join us in our chat rooms or on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Nicole Sakich, our special guest, is here tonight with us as well. Welcome back, everyone.
And I will be back in a bit.
All right.
Ooh.
All right. There's Keith. There's Keith. You can hear his phone there. Do we get more? No, we don't. He put us on mute. All right, Nicole. Right before the break, we were talking about this whole threat narrative that we keep hearing about, and a lot of people are getting turned off by it. All right. I understand the military's understanding of this, considering, that anything that enters airspace that they don't know about has to be considered a threat up until, they could prove what it is or what it is not. But the way the UFO community is throwing around the threat narrative, is this good for the community at large as we try to figure out what UFOs are as we seem to be getting closer to any sort of disclosure?
No, I don't think this narrative is good for the community. And I think that's why there's backlash in at least the experiencer crowd of the community. Because I guess it's just disappointing because, like I was saying earlier, I think when you dive in, your experience changes for you. If something was fearful, I think you can work through it. And to treat this phenomenon, even from the military perspective, like it's an enemy, I think is sort of appalling. And if that makes me sound like a snowflake or a lefty or whatever you want to say, believe me, I'm not. I believe in security, in national security and things like that. But if we're dealing with something that we've never dealt with before, it harkens back to, I believe Einstein even said, well, you better not shoot at them, don't treat them like a threat. Why isn't there some sort of narrative of peaceful communication when we're interacting with these things in military zones or, you know what I mean, with our troops on bases? And I don't know, we can get a little pop culture. So, why aren't we flashing the LED lights up at the ships going beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop,
Well, that's good sound effects right there. Good sound effects right there. I can appreciate that. it. I think the thing that upsets me about it, okay, is the fact that everybody claims there's no proof that ETs are here. There's no proof that this phenomena is even happening. There's a lot of people who do believe that. I disagree with that theory of thinking. However, there's also no proof that nothing has been a threat. That's what bugs me about this. You can't have it one way and not the other. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And when you bring that up, then that's when experiencers come into the narrative. You know, not just with what's in our sky, you know, it's like don't talk to everyday people. You have to have the perfect person. But as soon as you're talking about it being threatening, then that's when people turn to the experiencers and say, well, what about these scary abductions? You know, what about Travis Walton? What about, and the list goes on.
Absolutely.
And that, well, and I think that's where it shows a gap in our community's education on the subject at large. There's been further research done into cases, and I think the public treats everything as just a single event. And those in the community know that it's rarely a single event. It's not looked at that way anymore as some random happening. It's looked at like if you do have an event, there's probably more high strangeness encompassing the rest of your life.
No, true that. Let's get to a question here from Michael. Could this be just a hoax in order to keep us looking elsewhere while the powers that be make the final move to microchip us? I don't think so. But I mean, there's implants and things of that nature. I can speculate, you know, what things like that might be for, but why implant or chip us when we hold a device in our hand and on our person 24/7? Or if not a device in our hand, some sort of technology in our home.
True. I don't think and I know people are talking about we're a zoological experiment or, you know, keeping tabs on, you know, wildlife in some sort of way. And but yeah, I guess theories like that make sense. It's possible, but
it's interesting.
It's interesting, but I also think it might be a waste of resources or maybe too low tech or just of that nature.
True. Okay.
Seems like a
all right, Keith is back now. Welcome back, Keith.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Get at least.
Oh yeah. It's long. You know, it's a long night. Hey, why not? Keith, we were just talking about, and Nicole brought up a very good point regarding the fact of, you know, the ETs are bad or the government trying to track us on these things and, you know, about microchipping and the fact that why do they need to microchip us when they already have a cell phone that tells them everything and it's right by us 24/7? What's your thoughts?
Well, number one, microchipping is a really bad idea for a lot of reasons, especially when you think that that they are designing the microchips for computers. The bioelectrics that run through the human body will short out a lot of those computers, especially if you figure out how to do that. But I do agree, you don't need to implant microchips in people to track them. And just about everybody and their dog has a cell phone. And the satellites that are up there can pinpoint where people are without any problem. Which always makes it entertaining trying to figure out why they have trouble finding missing people. You know, when people get kidnapped, why does it take them so much time to track them down, given the technology they already have? You know, do I agree with microchips? Definitely not. Not myself, anyway. Of course, in all fairness, I wasn't overly impressed when they had to put a plate in my arm to repair it. You know.
Very true. Very true. Very true. So, you know, when aliens then implant us, Keith, I'm just trying to think of a good way to rephrase this. Are they are they doing it to find our DNA, or like are they doing it to track us? Are they doing it to try and find the biology of how we work? What are they doing it for?
Xenosocioeconomic evolution is what they're using it for, meaning they're looking for subquantum impact on a triphasic rating to figure out where people are going, why they're going, and how the interaction of individuals with other people, either with common people or with people of authority, see how that kind of interaction impacts on the cell structure of the human genome. And yeah, I know that all probably sounded like Swahili, but what the heck? Ultimately, humans use trackers to simply track location for the most part, or a little bit of surface biology, like surface readings and what have you. Right? The off-worlders are looking for a much higher level degree of information. Not to mention, not the least of which, is they also, some of the implants are used to track the metabolic transference when you get somebody walking into a highly polluted area as compared to walking into a fresh air area.
Okay.
So I mean, you're looking at technology that is so far outside of human ken that you really have to realize that humans, when you worry about Big Brother watching you, you got to look at the reality behind what Big Brother is doing and what the off-worlders are doing. The off-worlders, the major part of that tracking is usually from a standpoint of the hybridization program. And in order to improve the hybridization program, they need the extra information to be able to handle it. The other thing you got to realize is that the Greys, which are the ones that built that program, are not just tracking humans. Okay, it's amazing how few people actually report that their cat has been tagged, or that the crow flying around the neighborhood has been targeted. You know, and this is why, like, do I agree with tracking? Well, the way I look at it, they're doing it anyway. You know, whether you agree with it or not, it hasn't had a real big impact on the way my life goes. Of course, my life isn't exactly what we call run-of-the-mill.
No. I mean, you have a different type of life. So with the ET contactees, how often, or let's stick with you for a minute here, getting to the ETs, how often are you implanted? And do other species take those implants out?
Well, not in Survive. Sorry, that was just wrong. In all fairness, because I know who they are, I just don't override them, which means I don't have to get new ones put in on a regular basis, unless my energy spikes, at which point they end up having to replace the things. Right, because unfortunately I can short them out quite quickly, and all I have to do is either decide I don't want them or get agitated. Either way, I'll create a backlog.
Okay, so how can people who have implants deal with them? Can they, because there's not really a long list of doctors, Keith, that are removing these tags.
Well, removing the actual implant, like the physical item, that, I'm sorry, you're going to have to find, it's strongly recommended that you find a doctor that's qualified to take it out. But to short them out is actually relatively easy. Okay, if you take your hands and you put them and anybody can do this, if you put your hands palms towards each other at about a 1/4 inch apart, you'll feel an energy field between your hands. Some people will call it heat, some people will call it pressure. There's a lot of different words to describe it. But you put your hands that far apart, you focus on the energy coming out of both palms towards each other, and you'll feel a shift in the energy. That energy is biomagnetics. And by increasing that energy cycle, you can fry any tracker that's in there. Well, I shouldn't say any. There are a few that won't work for because they figured out how to do it. But it will fry. Now, I do caution you on one very big thing. If it is a Terran computer, like a Terran chip that's been put in you, for instance, let's say you're one of these people that has a pacemaker, this is a bad routine to use. Because let's face it, pacemakers require a computer chip to run. If you modify the biofeedback, the bioloop on you, and you short out that particular chip, you may have a problem. But that's the easiest way to deal with it.
True.
Easiest, least dangerous.
All right, Nicole, do you feel you're implanted? Do you have implants?
I think I fell into the implant rabbit hole for a while, and like a lot of people, your mind starts to wander, and you might have something strange in your body. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have thoughts specifically on myself being implanted, but I don't deny it, really. I mean, I think like Dr. Lear did a lot of good work with removing these strange things from people's bodies. And I've known people close to me that have had foreign objects removed from their body, and medical doctors have not known what it is or how they could have gotten where they are. So it's fascinating. But it ventures into that realm of spooky scariness that I don't understand and that I need more education on. So, yeah, I'll take it from there.
All right. Greco asks a question. Do aliens use some sort of I can't even pronounce that word. You gotta write it properly, Greco. Never mind the question. All right, sorry about that. That's what happens when I try and read things on a cold level. All right, let's move on here. With implants, Keith, are they all different? We hear of Metallica implants. We hear of these implants that almost seem to have some sort of biomagnetism to them that will move when people try to get close to them.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different types. Given the number of races that actually do it, yeah, there's a lot of different types. There's also a lot of different ones that do different things. You know, it's kind of like asking how many different types of pens are there, or how many different types of computer processors. Yeah, so are there a vast variety of them? The answer is yes. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay. Do humans implant aliens when they come down, if the government gets a hold of them?
Well, that's the silly part. If the government, from what I've gathered, if the governments get a hold of an alien, they don't implant them, they keep them. I'm not entirely certain, but I think that's called a prisoner of war, if you will, except for there's no war going on. But mankind doesn't have... See, mankind's technology will not permit tracking an alien once it gets onto its own ship. Mankind still has this brilliant idea they have to have line-of-sight tracking. The off-worlders don't.
All right, Nick.
The off-world.
Yeah, let's get to Nikki's question here. Nikki is asking, Keith, how do ETs implant their tech in human aura?
That is done on the astral plane, first of all. And it's comical, really, because that's literally all it is it's an image. It is not actually, it's not a physical implant. And the reason I say that is because you can't, trying to get a physical implant to sit in a non-corporeal form is a royal pain. Because if you think the human, the biofield changes, the aura changes not only on its physical location and configuration, but on its temporal stability.
All right.
Okay. So most of the time, it's more an image that people have about an implant that is somewhere else.
All right. We've got about 3 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continuing. Special guest Nicole Sackage with us here as well. We got a question coming from New York Anthony, who is asking, what are some of the most common implants used for, Keith?
Most of them most are used for tracking migration patterns and the biorhythms that take place during high stress changes. Okay, humans on the whole have this little bit of a problem where they get edgy if they get put in a different situation. And this applies to even if you're going from one city on Earth to another city. People get stressed. Okay, so many of the implants are used for that. They're also used for the biggest use is biofeedback, checking pulse rate, blood pressure, the impact of the proton on the neutron inside the cerebral cortex. Okay. Like, we're talking subquantum level technologies.
All right,
which means really tough.
All right, let's move on to a new question here. Long Island Bigfoot is asking, how would I know if I have been implanted?
If they've done it right, you won't. Once in a while, it'll show up on a medicine, like on a CT scan or something, on a Terran computer. But most implants actually do not show up because they're built they're built with biochemical camouflage, so that it looks normal.
Makes sense.
So I mean, when you think of the number of implants that people have reported, on the whole, that is a tiny fraction of the ones that have been put in.
All right.
So as far as I'm aware, there is no functional, definitive way of being able to say, I have definitely been implanted. Especially when you think many of them are biodegradable, as in their temporary implants.
True. All right. Nicole, your thoughts as we got about 30 seconds? None. Okay, cool. Keith, we will continue with the audience questions coming up here on Spaced Out Radio as we continue on here on the ET Connection tonight with R Keith Andrews and our special guest, Nicole Sackage, tonight. We really do appreciate everybody tuning on in, having some fun with us, because we love to have fun here on Spaced Out Radio. And yes, we will take your questions. Just a reminder to everybody in the chat rooms tonight, if you would like me to get to your question, please put it in capital letters. The chats are moving very, very fast, and I'm trying my best to keep up with all of you guys in there. So do me that favor. I'd greatly appreciate it. Second hour of Spaced Out Radio is coming up right around the corner. More of your questions here on the Mighty SOR.
And I'm going to go run and grab coffee.
All right, I'll be right back.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spicing up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
I just had to go get coffee.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
It's like some of them. I don't know if are you tracking the chat rooms at all?
I'm trying to. I have a lag right now, so I kind of logged them off, and I'm going to go back in.
Yeah. No, because of the way I've got my computer set up, I'm actually able to track. What is it now? Oh, YouTube and Spreaker. Right, that I can keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm watching YouTube.
But I have no way of understanding how Dave tracks that many. I mean, I'm writing 35 books at the same time. That for me is child's play. Carrying on conversations is easy enough, but trying to watch, well, he's got to have 5 or 6 screens up with different chat rooms.
I don't know. We should ask him to spin that camera around so we can see his system.
We got 1 minute, everyone.
Okay, Doc, we're just picking on you because you won't show us what your system looks like.
What do you want to see? Hold on.
Just how many numbers do you actually use?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. I lost one. I used to have 4. Now I'm down to 3.
Yeah.
How we doing?
We're coming back right now in about 20 seconds. All right, if you have a question in our YouTube chat, repost it, please, because the chat is moving really fast. I lost all the questions, and we'll continue with hour 2 right now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Kicking off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you have listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent, we really do appreciate that. On the digital side, we broadcast on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Conoscope. Conoscope is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Keith is our ET expert. All things alien tonight, because that's what we love to do with Keith on the ET Connection. Our special guest, Nicole Sackich, as well. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us tonight. And Keith, we're going to get right to the questions for you. Big Cat is asking, what race of aliens builds the fastest spaceship?
Well, that would undoubtedly be, technically it would be the Zerk, but the Zerk don't build spaceships. They just travel faster than everybody else. That'd be a real toss-up. But I would be inclined to say that you're probably try English. We're probably looking at, let me just think here. Trying to figure out which one would actually, because it's not like they actually race. Is the big problem.
Do they? Come on, they're not racing through the galaxy, trying to see whose land speeder is faster.
Oddly enough, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are races where the different races do race, but when you're talking about the land speeder type setup, those are usually by the same peoples, trying to figure out which vehicle runs faster than the other, for pretty much the same reason we have the Grand Prix. But that's not interracial, because the reality is most of the races, the reason that they don't have those kind of races is because what you're trying to do is not just a question of flat speed. It's maneuverability, it's your navigation capacity, and whether or not you can do a quantum phase jump at double or triple sublight speed, skirting a black hole. It is not just a speed thing.
All right, let's move on here. Davin in Vietnam. Hey, Davin, thank you for tuning us in. wants to know what your opinion is of what happened at the Dyatlov Pass incident back in the 1950s when 9 skiers, backcountry skiers, were weirdly, brutally killed. And to this day, we still don't know how they were killed. Was it Sasquatch? Was it aliens? What was it?
Well, I'd love to give you an answer to that one, but I don't know enough about the event. I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, it wasn't Sasquatch. Depending on the state of the bodies, and like I said, I've got nothing to work with. Depending on the state of the bodies, if it was Wara, they'd have torn them apart limb from limb.
Right.
They would just be dead. And besides that, you probably wouldn't have found the bodies. So I really don't have any way of getting, because I don't know the event itself.
All right, let's get to Annie, who is asking, are implants ever found in teeth?
Absolutely.
How would that work?
Short answer.
How would that work?
Well, it's really not that hard to shift an implant inside the enamel of human teeth. And of course, once it's in there, it's almost impossible to see it.
All right.
I have an add-on to that or a question. Now, that was kind of vague. Is that an alien implant in the tooth, or is that some sort of like spook tech, like Men in Black or Mill Labs? They take you and a tooth tracker. I don't know. That sounds like James Bond stuff to me.
I have no doubt it does.
Their tech, I guess.
Both types use it. Okay. More often than not, if you're talking Terran tech, though, you're talking about a complete fake tooth. You're not talking about an implant inside the tooth. And that would apply to your spooks, governments, my labs. Anything originating on Earth is usually literally a complete replacement tooth. And do they do it? Certainly. Can I prove it? Not a prayer. Somebody else gets the proof department.
All right, let's move on here. As Big Cat has another question. What race builds... Oh, I already asked that one. No, it's different here. What race builds the fastest spaceship, and what is its quarter... No, we already answered that. Never mind. This is what I get for not pre-reading the question, so that's my fault. All right. Moving on here. Greco is asking, question for Nicole. Will you come to my restaurant and sample my buffet of alien giblets in savory sauce? Keith's choice cuts will be served.
Yes, I'll eat anything once.
There you go. Good answer. You got to go to Toronto, though.
All right. Buy my ticket. I'll eat whatever you want.
Keith, what were you going to say there?
I said I personally wouldn't recommend that method. I mean, a cup of arsenic is one thing, but I can virtually guarantee it'll cause a problem.
Well, I meant food. We're talking food. Hey, not poison.
For some races, that's the problem.
All right. Nikki is asking, regarding the ET tech in human auras, so does that mean, Keith, that ETs will screw with the humans' temporal fields?
No, in all fairness, the tracking itself won't affect the temporal field anyway. See, time travel, and this is where we got into a real screwy setup the other day. Time travel itself can only move forward. It cannot create a problem in the past. Can't alter the past, none of that. So when you're putting it in the auric field, what you're doing is you're trying to track an energy field that most of the races don't even bother with. The Zerts are one of the few that will bother with it, but they've got a slightly different way of doing it. And it isn't a technological implant. Because understand, the Zerts are pure energy. which is why they are one of the fastest races available. They're also one of the only races that existed from the last Big Bang. Most races just cease to exist and then start over when you start looking at universal flips.
All right, Robin is asking, are the aliens interested in helping the millennials and the younger generations with knowledge?
Interested, yes, but very cautious because of the prior interactions they've had. See, the Offworlders desire the human race to understand a few things about communication, about healing, about some of the viri that are out there, to enable them to interact outside of the world, outside of Earth, without killing off literally millions of different people all at the same time, and worse, killing themselves off. They don't actually want mankind to be wiped off the map. But mankind has a tendency of jumping the gun and getting itself into trouble. So are they interested in helping with the knowledge? Absolutely. But they do relegate it to communication and health.
All right. Chris is asking, if the ETs are so interested in us, how come they haven't offered up any vaccines for things like COVID? If they're coming through our atmosphere and taking virus and bacteria-laden humans onto their ships, then they should have antivirals available so they don't get sick.
They made that mistake decades back with cancer. And mankind didn't release it then either, which is why they don't bother. Mankind has ended up releasing this virus, and when mankind starts learning to deal with each other as people, scrap the colors, scrap where you live on the planet. When mankind figures that out, then mankind will be on the route to actually solving the problem that they're fighting, that they're dealing with. But the Offworlders, because a global pandemic will not damage the planet, they're not really worried about whether mankind survives. Okay, I mean, mankind has it's got a lot of potential. But at this point, it's not a stable potential, which is why they haven't turned around and gone, here's the solution. Mankind's got the key to get the solution. Okay, they're just not willing to actually share it. And that's where you're running into the problem.
Goddess Michelle on Twitter is asking, do alien races have pets?
Yep.
Any of them human?
Chupacabra belonged to the Teclec and got away. Okay. The octopi and the squids are, if you will, primitive Eudema. Okay. That are are either growing up here and then being taken home. It's almost like when you look at the octopus and you look at the squid, right? They belong away from here. But there's a lot of them that, because they've been here for so long, the race has adapted to Earth.
All right, let's move on. Greco's asking, have any Earthlings ever reached an alien world?
Yes. How was that for sure?
Got to give me something more than a yes or no, man.
Zeta Reticuli, the homeworld of the Greys, there have been a number of humans that have gotten to it. The homeworld of the Sazatians, people have gotten to. Okay. It's not a good idea to go to the Teclec homeworld. Primarily because the odds are you ain't going to live through it. Right. And there are a few others that people have gone through that, when you think about it, going there is a bad idea. But even with some of the ancient races, humans have gotten to them or have been taken to them and brought back, by the way. Okay, this is where you get some of the renditions of worlds that are just right bizarre.
Makes sense.
So it's not all just it's not all a voluntary thing, although there have been some voluntary trips.
Sure. Troy is asking, what do aliens do in their spare time for leisure?
Well, one of the first games I bore witness to, I was 5 years old, they were playing what amounted to the zero-G wall ball. Okay, where instead of just having 4 walls to bounce it off, you actually have 6. As in the roof and the floor at the same time. That's just one of the games. Some of the games are a lot more violent. You know, when you take a look at the Muldocs, their idea of a football game, if you don't have at least one dead teammate, then it was a really, really mild game.
Vintage.
You know, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking the cross country. If you go with the cross country runs that the Tech go after, they've got an incentive. The idea is, yes, beat everybody else, but you also have to outrun the runner, because the runner will just simply eat you if he catches you. It does mean there's no question who the last guy across the gate is. You know.
Perfect. All right, let's move on. Vintage Beard is asking, what race of aliens was E.T. designed after? So E.T., the movie E.T.
Yeah. He was a modified, from everything I've gathered, he was a, what's the word I'm looking for? A cute rendition of a gray. Okay. I haven't run into a race like E.T. myself. Okay. But as near as I understood it, he was simply a cuter version of an otherwise frightening little animal, a little critter. Funny part is, he's got the same, and the reason I say the cuter version of the gray is because his walking pattern and his apparent knowledge base was rather reminiscent of the grays.
All right, let's go on here. Annie says, I had a strange x-ray, was supposed to go to some 3D image facility. What would cause strange x-rays, or what could be picked up?
Well, if you're using a triphasic x-ray machine, you can pick up a subquantum shadow. Right, and especially with if they're looking for an implant that's mobile, the triphasic will pick it up. They'll be able to track where it's going. Okay, that may be what they were looking for. Now, who gave them the idea to look for a triphasic is anybody's guess. But that's likely what you're looking at.
All right, let's move on here. Greco is asking, is there an alien version of our earthly superheroes or villains?
Only in a manner of speaking. There are psychokinetic off-worlders and ancient races, for that matter. If you're asking, is there Kryptonian? Not that I'm aware of. However, there are races that are very much, from an athletic standpoint or from an energy pulse standpoint, are very capable. Okay, if you take a look at the Mobians, many of them have developed what mankind would call, super abilities, simply because they've learned how to manipulate their own biofield. Thus producing an energetic force beam, if you will. Okay. Teleportation is another issue that is more often than not technically teleportation so much as extremely high movement. The Shadow Walkers would fall into that category. Okay, shadow walkers, by standard definition, you'd call them a vampire. Okay, do they follow traditional Hollywood ideas? No. But yes, some of the race's abilities do emulate so-called superheroes.
All right,
or supervillains.
Moving on, Thurston the Howl III wants to know, how many races do you know about now, Keith?
I think at last count, I was documented. I think I'm close to 90.
That's incredible. Incredible. All right, Long Island Bigfoot wants to know, so I've gotten harassed by reptilians. How do I make them back off?
First question I would have to ask is which reptilian? Because I know 15 races right off the top of my head that are all essentially reptilian. And some you talk to, some you threaten, and some you just bury. You know, I mean, and I know that sounds a little rude, but it's also very effective.
Makes sense.
I mean, that's one of the things you have to take a look at from that end. Like the Teklak, well, good luck. If you're being harassed by them, you're already dead, so that's probably not them.
I can see that. All right, let's move on here, because it's fun. And Nathan is asking, since we are energy, can the past be observed by aliens by looking at that energy?
Absolutely. But it cannot be altered. See, the past can be looked at by anybody, in all fairness, humans included. You can absolutely look to the past and see what happened. You just can't do anything about it. And this is one of the reasons why the aliens are here in dominant form right now, is because of the state that mankind has currently gotten to. See, mankind got to this state and got to the same level about 40,000 years ago. Right? Only mankind made an interesting maneuver. Half of them left the planet and the other half died. Ironically, they didn't die because of a war. They died because of a miscalculation.
Right.
And no, it was not. In a nutshell, they all literally decided to shut their heart off at the same time. This was not a well thought out plan.
Okay. George is asking, does this technology explain precognitive dreams that come true?
The technology, not really. But bearing in mind that humans are born with the natural ability of temporal observation, humans can quite often see events before they happen and not realize they're seeing them. But understand, children up until about the age of 5, everybody chalks it up to, oh, that's a wonderful imagination, and then start talking their kids out of believing it, which is why people's ability gets shut down.
Right. Makes sense. We're going to continue with audience questions coming up on Spaced Out Radio. And R Keith Andrews is here for the ET Connection. He comes in near the beginning of each month to hang out, talk everything extraterrestrial with us. You know, it's your choice. You can believe what he's saying. You don't have to believe what he's saying. But the one thing I know about Keith, he's always going to talk from the heart and the soul because he is very knowledgeable of what we do. And for all of you, you get to enjoy it too. More Spaced Out Radio with Keith and our special guest, Nicole Sackage, coming up right after this.
And I ran out of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
I'm using a smaller cup today, so that explains my problem.
Yep.
I'm still here. I'm drinking coffee tonight.
If you want to get going, you can. I'm okay with that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't be. Don't be. But if you're tired, I mean, I don't want to be keeping you up, you know?
It's not that. Should I not be reading along the chat and trying to multitask? I do get kind of sucked into what Keith is saying too.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to start an argument here. I mean, all I'm saying is that if you're not feeling well or you're tired or whatever, you know, it's quite okay.
The radio for you, all I'm going to do is run out to my spot and Skywatch and do my thing. Well, so that's what I'm going to do when we get the phone. I'll hang out as long as you want me to.
Well, I'll keep you here as long as you want to be here.
I want to be here. I want to ask Keith about Palladians.
Sure.
So, man, you want me to tell you now or wait till we get back on the air?
Wait till we get back on the air. All right.
I'll get a little personal with my Palladian question.
All right.
We have to take advantage of the knowledge base, right?
Yeah.
Well, it would make sense.
All right. Oh, I'm just gonna bring something to attention here, okay? In my chat room tonight. All right. There's a lot of tension in the chat room that I'm reading right now. Okay. Number one, we never insult guests. Okay. It's your choice whether you want to believe Keith or not. And if you choose not to believe, then that's quite okay. But trying to just enjoy the woo, man. Just enjoy the woo. It's quite okay. Number two, okay, everybody has a place in here. Everybody's allowed to say what they want, have some fun. So I know there's a few people who often come in who others are rubbing the wrong direction. We have a room that is allowed for everybody as long as it doesn't get personal with a guest. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. Okay, guys, I do this show a lot. Okay, as you know, I'm here almost every night. Okay, and I try and hold my frustration in sometimes, or what I believe or what I don't believe. Okay, I have met Keith personally, and I can say he's one of the nicest, best human beings I have ever met. All right, this guy, he doesn't have anything. Okay, he doesn't have much, but he would still give you the jacket off his back if you were cold. Okay, that's the type of human being we're here. So Keith will always have airtime on Spaced Out Radio as long as he wants to have it here, because I've had experiences with Keith, and to me, he's been very real, and knowing him as one of the best people that I have ever met in my life, he's going to continue here as long as he wants. And I love the man as a dear friend of mine. So, you know, the cheap shots or whatever, I don't know what to say. All right, let's just have some fun, enjoy. It's a Friday night of a long weekend. If we're a little too tense, and there's a number of people in the chat room right now that are acting a little tense, have a fucking drink and relax. Okay, because I work my ass off on this show trying to make things and let us have some fun every now and again. I don't get to relax. As you can see, I'm wound up tighter than anything right now. Okay? And it started right at the beginning of the comment with some idiot named David who comes in here, has never commented in the chat room before, and decides to throw a shot at me. All right? Not happy about that. It sets my show so that way we can all have fun and all have enjoyment here. All right? And I'm sorry, sometimes I'm allowed to get pissed off, and I'm pissed off right now. So, and just for the record, Robert, it's not you. All right. Even though, you know, you could say what you want. Okay. But just enjoy the fucking fun that we provide here. Like, God damn it. all I got to say. And I have no idea why we're lagging.
I want to clap. I want to give you like a slow clap.
No.
Like clap, clap.
Yeah, I'd like to say just thank you very much, Dave. I really do appreciate it.
The SOR Newswire.
The reality is, I mean, you bite your tongue phenomenally well.
Out at spacedoutradio.com.
We got to get going here, guys. Hold on. Welcome back to the second half hour, or the second part of the show of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really do appreciate each and every one of you having the time to spend with us. We really do. And I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you could check up on our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Instagram, follow us at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are talking the ET Connection with R Keith Andrews. Yes, he comes in near the beginning of each month to hang out with us and have some fun, where we get into all things weird and strange. We are also joined by our special guest, Nicole Sackich, who's an experiencer and researcher for Grant Cameron. Welcome back, everyone. We really do appreciate your time.
Hi, thanks, Dave.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, don't mind me. Brain's on hold.
Oh, no worries. I know the feeling. All right, I gotta ask you, Keith, in regards to the alien species that we were talking about right before the break. All right, how many of these species are actually visiting Earth? Like, if you were to put on a piece of paper, how many species are here and having some serious time on this planet? How many would it be?
Just a rough guess. You're likely only looking at 5 or 6 different races. I mean, what you'll have is, for instance, bring down one research vessel. It may bring down 5 or 6 different races in that same vessel, but the vessel will belong to one race. The Greys are an obvious frequent flyer, if you will. The 3 most common that I can think of right offhand are, well, might be more than 3, but your Greys, your Swazians, Pleiadians will send down hybrids. The Tekliks come down periodically. The Wari here just about all the time. Right. There's a number of, like, shadow walkers show up once in a while, and the really fun ones to have pop in are your elementals. But you don't necessarily want to see an elemental, because they usually come in on the back of a natural disaster. So you're probably only looking at like a half dozen. Oh, and of course the Nords. You're likely only looking at a half a dozen regular showing up on the surface. In the sky, one of the more common ones that you'll find is Martokians, because they keep sending their classes over. The Martokians, just to be clear, are, quite frankly, they're Martians. They are not little, but they are green. And they send their students over, which is why every time Mars gets closer, you see more UFO activity. Okay. And unfortunately, I didn't count that, so I can't give you the answer that you asked.
No. Okay, but are all of the races that are coming here actually looking at interacting with people?
No. Most of them are here just watching the gross maneuvering, kind of like, if you will, watching an anthill. Okay, they're here to watch most of them are here to observe the socioeconomic, the xenosocioeconomic modifications that are taking place. As in civilization is evolving, they're here to study that evolution and the impact it has on the local flora and fauna. Like people have likened Earth to a petri dish, which I guess in a sense is not that far off. It's just not quite what they're referring to.
Right. Nicole, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts on different races has always been just high speculation for me, since I have never seen or encountered a being like those talked about. But on a personal level of trying to explore this woo, I'd like to know more about Pleiadians. And if I can tell a little bit of a backstory, I will, to kind of set up my question. My grandmother, who passed away when I was 5, always used to take us grandkids out in the yard and point to the stars and say, "This is where we go when we die." And she was pointing at the Pleiades. And throughout the years in my ufology research and hunting, I call them star children, whether they talk about being from Orion or the Pleiades or another star system. I have only been approached by Pleiadians, and they seem to tell me what I am. And I've never really believed my grandma. I just was kind of like, oh, that's something my grandma said to us. And I've never had the opportunity, of course, to ask her about these things. So I was wondering how maybe that would fit into where I could learn about Pleiadian knowledge, or what you know about them, and how you said they were hybrids. So would that mean my grandmother might have been a hybrid and I'm some offshoot or next generational hybrid?
Well, can I prove it one way or the other? The answer is no. But is it likely that your grandmother was a Pleiadian hybrid? The answer is it's possible. The question that you have to ask is, with your grandmother, did she have blue skin that had mobile pigmentation?
Not that I remember.
Was her skin kind of a bluish tint, and when you touched her skin, did the pigmentation move, much like the bubble stickers that you can find?
No, but honestly, when I was so young when she passed, what I do remember about her skin is, like, I always remember it as being soft and kind of shiny, actually, and her eyes also. Like, I remember them. When I remember them now, they're always glittery to me.
Right. It would not surprise me to find out. Now, obviously, we're way beyond the point of being able to prove, but it would not be a shock to find out. She was clearly in contact with Pleiadians. Now, the reason I said the Pleiadians would only be hybrids on the planet is because the atmosphere of Earth will kill a purebred Pleiadian on contact. Okay, it's literally a toxic atmosphere to them.
Now, when you say hybrid, even with, because I've also encountered a lot of Pleiadians that channel a collective. They don't say they're a hybrid, but they say they speak to a Pleiadian collective. So is that what you mean by a hybrid? Like they can inhabit a body, or you mean like a DNA hybrid?
I mean a hybrid as in physical splice, if you will. A genetic splice.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, I am not going to comment on whether or not the people that are claiming to talk to a Pleiadian collective or what have you. I will tell you this. the Pleiadian peoples themselves are neutral healers. In other words, if you're ill, they'll heal you. Okay, if it falls within what the in this case, what the Galactic Consortium gives them go-ahead to do. Okay, because they are not supposed to interrupt major events here, which is why they don't stop certain things from happening. But they do make contact, and they are, as a matter of fact, if you ever look outside and you see a silver cigar-shaped ship with no windows, welcome to the Meet the Pleiadians.
Interesting. I've only seen one cigar-shaped craft, and it was embedded in clouds. So my left brain inhibitor tells me that it was a cloud within a cloud, but my right brain knows that it was a craft. But it's interesting that you say Pleiadians are healers and that they can get approved to heal. Like, what would be a situation where they get approved to heal or intervene in that?
I'd love to give you an answer to that. Unfortunately, they don't actually tell me.
Ah. I know some of this stuff might be revealed to experiencers that, live it. So I would just...
Well, I know when I got put back together, it wasn't by the Pleiadians. Right. I actually got put back together by the Shazazians.
Are they the ones that have the plant healing ships?
No, the Pleiadians have that.
Oh, those are the Pleiadians as well. Interesting.
The Pleiadian, wait a minute, did you say plant healing ships?
Yes. Like the crafts that once you're on board, they have all these plant medicine type.
Called Extraterrestrial, also known as the Greys. You'll find those ships are actually the consortium's research vessels. But a lot of those plants come right out of Zeta Reticuli.
So I hear. And if I understand correctly, yes, we can see Zeta Reticuli, but when we're speaking about these beings, it's that location, but a different dimension. Am I thinking of that correctly? Or it's that actual physical place that we can see in our telescope?
Essentially, it's that place, although we're talking about it being a planet, not the star, which is what you see in the telescope from here.
Correct. So
understand, and I've gotten into this with other people, but everything you can see, witness, and experience in our existence is third dimensional. Now, there is much that vibrates at a much higher rate, but it is not from a different dimension. It's just moving faster. Okay. But the plant ships you're referring to are the research vessels of the consortium.
I'm just enjoying listening to you two right now.
Who's all part of this consortium? Thank you, Dave. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you go right ahead. I'm enjoying this. Thank you.
The answer to that question is about, from what I gather, about 2,500 member races. Now, I've only dealt personally with somewhere in excess of 90 at this point that I've actually documented.
Well, who are the big players in the consortium that interact with Earthlings?
Well, the races that we've already been discussing are the ones that have got clearance because they're the ones that don't tend to go out of their way to cause a problem. Like, for instance, when you deal with the Shazazians, which, by the way, are your 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilians, they are allies on Earth, and they go through extensive training before they're permitted to come down to Earth. Primarily because they will accidentally kill people. And the reason I say accidentally is because their strength and their muscular density is so high that they can kill somebody by accident. Like literally go to shake your hand and rip your arm off.
And do you think that's why people are so fearful of the reptilians? Is their looks and, I guess, what they do by accident?
No, late 1970s, early 1980s, neat little series called V. That's where most people run into the problem with reptilians. Okay. That movie, that series was fabulous in my eyes. Right? It did a beautiful job of completely scrambling reality, but it was a great series from an entertainment standpoint. But that's where everybody came to the conclusion that the reptilians were taking over the government, they were infiltrating the place, and they were here to harvest mankind. Okay. But that's where the fear comes in.
Right.
Now, granted, if you've ever run into a Swarovski, and I can tell you from practical experience, having an 8.5-foot reptilian look down on you, and I mean, at 8.5 feet, you don't get options. They look down on you. Right. But it can be a little disconcerting. My first run-in with them was I watched one literally rip the chest plate off of a technician. Now, that wouldn't have been bad if he'd been wearing armor. You got to understand, one of the people on Earth, they talk about war. The off-worlders look at what mankind calls war and goes, this is not war. This is a minor discussion or a minor debate over a dinner table. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at the world, but no, the fear of reptilians, a lot of it comes from the fact of mankind's primal fear of quite frankly, primal fear of dinosaurs and of larger predatory animals.
I chuckled a little bit because when you said off-worlders look at us, like we're skirmishes or nothing, and I envisioned like squabbling with your siblings. It's like that low level.
That's basically what they see it as.
So if I could ask one more question. I know that you've been on several types of crafts from various alien species and cultures. What could you say about how these crafts are built or assembled? And just specifically, what could you tell me about how the crafts are lit or how the lighting appears while you're on board from the inside?
A lot of the lighting, depending on the ship, obviously it varies ship to ship. But some of the more common methods are proximity lighting. Meaning, when you get within a certain radius, the light automatically comes on. Now, most of the ships are still built using standard technological methods, like standard as in the same kinds of ideas that mankind uses. Right, one bolt, one nut, put it together, weld it in place, and carry on. Okay, there are various different ways of doing it, but when you take a look at some of the ships, like for instance, if you take a look at who is it? I was going to call them the Metamorphs, which they are. I'm just sad to say my memory is not great. So what I did when I put the book together, I did it for a reason. But some of the races actually grow their ships. Like Arborians literally grow their ships. And when they're ready to take off, they just break them loose from the ground. So there is no technological evolution of it.
Okay, hold on. That just kind of blows my mind a little bit. So where these ships are grown, would that mean so their entire technology is kind of organic based. Is that what you're saying? Or is that
thing? That is literally what we're saying.
I'm thinking of, because I know you know your science fiction. I'm thinking of the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, where the Cylons are finally helping the humans, and they're painting that goo like on the inside of the of Galactica to like heal the stress fractures and stuff. So I don't know. My mind's blown. Like I said, growing shit.
Ultimately, I actually never watched the reboot. Of course, I don't have cable, which might explain that in a hurry. Okay, but that kind of technology actually exists quite nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you remember the show, what the heck was it called? Space Odyssey 2001?
Yes.
You remember the ship that they had? The great big rectangular ship?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that particular ship belongs to the Korlocks. Now, that ship is built on a subquantum level. You got to understand, the Korlocks are full amoeba. There is not a prayer a human will ever get on board one of their ships. Okay, because they're literally operated by the bioemanations of the Korlock people. They literally will flow into the ship, right, fill the area, and then their own bioelectric field is what causes the energy to run the ship.
How many people can the average ship hold, Keith? We got about a minute.
Well,
we got about 2.5 minutes here.
We could go the rude way and go, it depends on how thin you slice them. But the reality is it depends on the ship. Many of the motherships will carry literally 10, 15,000 easy. You know, like when you've seen the, I think you've seen the ships that look almost like a stadium.
Yes.
Okay. Those are Moldakian warships. Or not warships, they're Moldakian generation ships. Meaning those things will literally carry millions.
Okay.
And this is one of the things people have to realize.
But I'm not saying the motherships. I'm saying the average ship that we see in the sky, okay? They're way up there. We can't really tell what their size is, but could they hold 20, 30, 40, 100 humans on average?
On average, your cylinder ships will carry 100 or 200 on it, but most of those are techs. The little ships that you see usually carry a squad of anywhere from 2 to 5. Right, they're not usually major ships. You know, your collector ships, when they're coming in for an abduction for the hybridization program, usually only has a maximum of 10 people on board. And they'll only take 1 or 2 humans at a time, usually.
Right. Very interesting. Very interesting. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. We got about 30 seconds before we go. So I got to ask you quickly here, Keith, regarding these ships, do the people that they take, do they go to the same ships every time?
Usually, yeah. Usually the people that are getting picked up, if they're repeatedly getting picked up, most of the time they'll go back to the same. It may not be exactly the same ship, but it'll be the same type of ship.
Right.
Okay. Kind of like, if you will, a carpool.
Makes sense.
Go grab ship, ship style, go grab an SUV.
True.
Right. Because that's what the pilot will be trained with, and that's what he'll be most comfortable with.
All right, guys, hold on. We're through 2 hours on Spaced Out Radio. Another half hour of the ET Connection with R Keith Andrews and special guest Nicole Sackage. Then I will bring you the Thought of the Day and the SOR Newswire at the back end. Here we go, hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Wow. My mind is still blown. I'm like thinking of like ships growing up like flowers, in and out like craft. I don't know. Do you ever draw or sketch any of this stuff, Keith? I
have a lot of trouble with the idea of drawing a stick man that fell down the stairs and the stairs landed in the guardrail.
Right. I mean, there's lots of artists out there that could render what you describe to them.
And unfortunately, what I found is most of the artwork that I've seen doesn't work well. Like, I found one artist that would love to get her to do the work. Unfortunately, she's a little young and therefore doesn't have the focus for it. Like, she's got the talent, but, you know, I will eventually figure out how to get that. But most of what I've seen, frankly, just doesn't work well. The only one I've got, I do have the sketch of a that I did actually of a vegan that I sketched together. But it takes me forever and a day to try and do it. And of course, with everything else I'm working on, and the fact I ran into a couple of hiccups, trying to draw was not one of the things I took the time to learn very well.
I'm not a very good artist either, and I try, and it's always embarrassing at best. But sometimes I just try to muddle through it to try to express, you know, what I'm talking about, or if it's other things I'm trying to draw out, you know. Sometimes it helps. Yeah, I'm terrible. I can draw crooked stick people as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. Like, I can write, yes. Can I draw? No. Yeah. And
speaking of writing, just really quick, what are your thoughts on light language and speaking it and writing it? Do you experience anything similar to that?
Well, I love people that talk about speaking light language, because light language, if you speak it, doesn't make any noise. It is literally photonic exchange. And writing it requires a sign. Okay.
Right.
And besides that, you end up writing it in the air, which means humans can't translate it at the best of times because they're not going to see it. The optic nerve just will not translate it. And a lot of the people, you know, I don't know people personally, but a lot of the people that I've heard of that talk about the light language still talk about war and how these people are gearing up for war on Earth. And it's like, that is not what the light language is about at all. Okay, they don't have... I mean, think of it this way. The people that speak in the light language, their idea of war means the sun went supernova and everything in the neighborhood died.
The few people I've spoken with concerning light language, the way they describe speaking it is... It's different because I guess some of them speak it and they don't really know what they're saying. And some people can hear it and recognize words, but they can't write it out. And one thing I've noticed that most of them say is that it's when you're hearing light language being spoken, that it sort of has that effect of like looking at a mandala or these sacred geometry shapes that you don't necessarily have to understand what you're looking at, or with the language, you don't have to understand what you're hearing. But like you mentioned, it's like a vibrational hearing resonance, so that it still has an effect as to what you're hearing.
ultimately, that would be a good way to describe it. I mean, the closest thing you're going to get to hearing it, and it's not light language, but have you ever heard the Aurora Borealis?
I have not, but I have heard that described by some experiencers as like a singing or almost, well, like from that Christian point of view, like a heavenly song, like a choir.
And that's not a bad way to explain it.
All right, guys, we got 1 minute.
Okay, Doug.
You guys can keep talking. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. No, light language itself, I've yet to find anybody that can actually write it. It's like people trying to write the Udina language. Now, the Udina, if you watch the movie The Arrival with the egg-shaped ship, right? With I think they had 10 limbs. The rope with
right. That was an excellent movie with how they express the language.
That was actually a very well documented real record.
All right, guys, hold on. Here we go.
The Paranormal Lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Let's kick off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. I want to remind you that you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Conoscope. Conoscope is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Final time tonight, we bring in R Keith Andrews. The ET connection continues here on Spaced Out Radio, where we are talking all things alien and extraterrestrial. We have special guest Nicole Sackich here tonight with us as well. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for doing this show.
Well, thanks for having us, and welcome back to all the people that are still listening and the ones that are just joining us.
Absolutely. Always a good time. I got to ask you, Keith, and this is kind of a direction we've never gone on this show. There's a lot of people out there who claim to see flying humanoids, the Mothman in Chicago and Indiana and all that, you know, and have all of these strange type of creatures that are running around and being seen. They never seem to catch them on camera, but the personal claims are out there. You know, are these aliens that are flying around, or are these just some sort of mythical creature that's come into existence?
You've actually got three different qualifiers. Some are defined, and obviously we can't speak to any specific one in particular, but you're undoubtedly looking at four qualifiers. One would be actual races, actual off-world races. Two would be ancient races, as in when you take a look at people claiming to see flying humanoids. Well, angels are an off-world race. Okay, but there are other races that actually evolved here and have wings. Okay, then you've got your mythological creatures that are running around, as well as when you talk about thought forms. There's a theory that if you talk about something often enough, it will take on its own life, which does actually occur, but we're going into a really weird world there. And then, of course, you have the ones that are just flat out made up. Okay, where you get the individual that is looking for their 5 minutes of fame. Right. Which, I'm not quite certain why you would go there, but, you know, I've been accused of the same thing.
Of course.
But that's, you get a catch-all, you get a wide variety of reasons for it.
Okay, so for those that are having these sightings, whether it's like these Mothman type creatures that have been happening for the last little while, do we end up classifying them as ETs, number one, but number two, does this open up to further ET contact?
Well, considering the fact that we've got new races coming into the area, the answer is yes. It does open up the door to further ET contact. Okay. And it does, you know, the more frequent what you do is you watch for multiple people in the same area spotting the same thing. And we are talking independent people, not people gathering together, having a great party, and all of a sudden seeing neat things happen. Right. But yeah, it definitely opens the door for further research, for further possibilities. And let's not forget that on Earth, mankind is still only, from what I understand, only identified about 2% of the life forms that are actually on Earth itself.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhat seen, it would not be a shock to find out it's actually Karen and just hasn't been spotted.
Interesting. Okay. So are some of these creatures being dropped off here by extraterrestrials?
From my standpoint, would not be a shock. I know the chupacabra wasn't exactly dropped off as ended up here. Right, it wasn't, like when I say it wasn't dropped off, it wasn't like somebody grabbed the thing and tossed it out the door. Unless you count like a cat that you've had in your house for the longest time and finally spotted an open door and booked it. Right.
I always look at the chupacabra. I always think of it like that Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. It's like this crazy kind of like beastie thing.
Good way of looking at it, except it doesn't pull its legs inside itself.
Or like befriend little girls and kick it all cool. So
yeah.
Listen to Elvis.
No, if you read the World Weekly News about 40 years ago, Elvis was kidnapped by the Mardokians and taken to Mars. Along with the dinosaurs, I might add.
But kind of in that vein, though, I hear Dogman discussed like that as well, that he's possibly like some sort of bioengineered beast weapon that's ended up here, or just a nasty being.
Yeah, see, my problem is I have done no research. So I've heard, and one of the digits probably look into it, where we talk about the Dogman. I hear him mentioned a number of times, but I really don't have much to work with. I personally don't know the guy. Or the race, one of the two. You know, and I quite literally have avoided doing research for a lot of races.
Honestly, what little I know, I've gathered from Dave's excellent guests that he's had on other SOR shows. So he's probably more in the know than I am.
Oh, good bet.
Well, I wouldn't trust old Davey on that one. Would not trust old Davey on that one. No, you're speaking.
Well, you're fascinating.
You are speaking way too highly of me right now. Way too highly. All right. Got a question here from Skywatcher, pardon me. Keith, do any races ever abduct senior citizens like over 70 asking for a friend?
As in the, I'm presuming he means
senior citizens.
Well, no, I realize that, but I presume he means if a senior citizen is really wanting a friend, will an off-worlder come and pick him up? And the answer is there are definitely those that will. And then, of course, they put them back, which is usually what throws them for a loop. It's like, no, you don't understand. I didn't want to come back. You know? But yeah, the Pleiadians and that side of them are known to do that when you're dealing. It's kind of like the people from PETA that go, we need to take care of this animal that's being left on its own. But they return them because they don't want to go kidnapping them and removing them. But it does make their transition a little easier. That's also likely where the idea came from, that the Pleiadians take the dead over to their world, which, by the way, they don't. Dead go to a whole different place. But that's a very different conversation. But the answer is yes. They have been known to befriend the ones that are dying, take them away for a little bit and bring them back, but they don't take them away to extend their life, just to make it a little bit. But they'll only take the ones that essentially don't have somebody else that is coming to them. Okay, because they do tend to leave people to take care of people. And by the way, that does not mean that every senior citizen gets taken. I think that's what you're looking for.
Do any extraterrestrials have human traits? And what I mean by that, Keith, is, let's say, haircuts, shaving, brushing their teeth, eating. Well, I know we've talked about eating before. Okay, sleeping a minimum of 8 hours a day. All right, do they have any of those human traits? And if so, which ones?
Well, the Mobians definitively do, because the Mobians and the Nordics both do, and the Arcturons as well. The Mobians, in all fairness, are human. They came from Earth. They colonized Mobius. Okay, but they colonized Mobius some 40,000 years ago. Okay, so yeah, they do have human traits. The Nordics absolutely do. Differently, they do, and then of course, when you take a look at a lot of the ancient races, many of the ancient, what we call humanoid races, have very human-like traits. The Moldocs also have human traits to that of the caliber of certain hygiene. Well, we'll scrap the hygiene on the Moldocs. Okay, but the sleeping patterns, that sort of thing, yes. Not necessarily the same length of time. Right, but the same kind of social interaction or social structure. And, once you get into the hybrids, a lot of the times when you get a hybrid, they automatically end up with it.
That is interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, let's take a look, Keith, at those subjects. I mean, do they worry about simplistic human things that we do? Driver's licenses? I know that sounds a little fantastical, but do they have to carry a health care card? Do they have to, or is this all just human modality?
Well, it's more evolutionary modality. Most of the races, well, actually every member race of the consortium have a global government, meaning they don't have a lot of the hindrances that we require. But do many of them, like when you take a look at the Mobians, they absolutely have some of those tendencies, some of those traits, such as quantifiable. You're trained in this department. You're trained in that one. There is licensing, there is training where people get. Now, they don't tend to carry cards because it gets pumped right into the computer system. Okay, so as far as physical cards go, not very many. Right. But do they have that kind of organizational template? Yes. Okay, a prime example, for instance, is when you take a look at the Greys. They are licensed specifically for different, or not necessarily licensed so much as trained, for very specific different points or different sciences. And the reason they keep a record of it is pretty obvious. You do not want a chemist doing the steel fabrication, if you will. Arborians do not want a mathematician handling the growing of the ships. That's got to be done by an herbalist. And yes, I know that sounds completely weird. You build your ships with an herbalist. By the way, it does make for rapid ship production.
All right. Keith, with the fact that so many aliens are interacting with humans at this time, do we see a time where they're going to start, outside of what we think is happening on the governmental side, let's say on the human side, do we see a time when they're going to start trading things? Okay, like say, for instance, look, you can take a ride in my spaceship. I'm not saying this whole nighttime abduction type of thing, but land in the yard, say, okay, we've been in contact with you, let's go for a ride, you're going to fly the ship, and by the way, I want to know what it's like to drive the pickup truck in 4x4 mode in the snow or something along those lines.
And oddly enough, it's already started. But when you'll find it in a mass result, the way you're referring to, if it follows its current path and human evolution stays on track and doesn't kill itself, you're still looking at about 100 to 150 years down the road. Because mankind is still way too caught up in fear of appearance. And they are way too caught up in who's to blame for causing problems. And until mankind gets evolved past that, they will not be, on the whole, the off-worlders will not be authorized to come down and pull that off. Once in a while it happens anyway. But as the saying goes, it's easier to get forgiveness than it is to ask permission. Problem with the consortium is if you do it without permission, you don't get forgiveness, you get termination. But your friends know that you shouldn't have done it.
Nicole? What's your thoughts?
I'm still blown away by all of this. I'm having a moment just listening to Keith, honestly. I dodged into the chat. They're still talking about plant ships. So maybe Keith could talk about that some more. Like, can I get a seed pack of plants, of seeds, and grow a craft here on Earth?
The answer to that would be a categorical, definitive no, because they won't grow on Earth.
Even in like a cool terrarium thing like they had back in the 70s?
That would be a really cute idea, except you need a cool terrarium about the same size as, let me think here, Shea Stadium might be an idea. And then you're only one ship.
Well, who has the shrinking technology where I could just make this smaller? I could collaborate with a couple groups to get this done. We could...
Don't take this the wrong way, Nicole. But there isn't a human on the planet that's got that kind of a brain.
Darn it.
But that being said, the Arboreans, because you got to remember the way that they grow them. Number one, they essentially, I think the easiest way to put it is they meld with the ships. So you're dealing with living vessels. Okay. So like when you take a look at bamboo, for instance, it's a great big long reed and it's hollow. Well, picture a long reed that's hollow that happens to be like 7 feet in diameter. Okay, and that's only one corner.
So it's like a bio AI.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
The being is the craft is the being. Is everything on this world like that? Like, I mean, is all their technology based like that?
Yes.
They're building their vehicles, on-world vehicles, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
their whole society is built that way.
Like how in the movie The Abyss, that alien species that's in our ocean, they manipulate water to their purposes.
That's another one of those movies that was taken directly out of reality.
I love the best ones are.
I love that movie.
My top 3 for sure.
See, but yes, it's the same idea.
That's great.
See, there are some aged Arboreans on Earth that have chosen to settle here. And if you go down to Borneo, you can actually find them. Communicating with them might be fun. They're also known as walking trees.
Like Groot?
They don't move that fast, but the same idea. Or along the lines of like Treebeard.
Okay. Sorry, my inner nerd was awakening with that comment.
But no, the reality is growing a ship. You got to remember, you're basically growing a city. And mankind has this problem with the idea of having cities grow up in the middle of nowhere. They get agitated when they find a crop circle. See what happens when you find a ship.
Well, hey, you said crop circles. I live in corn country. What's the best way to find crop circles?
The best way I can put it, because again, I'm not the one that goes out looking for them, but they are usually done they're done very quickly, and they're done by a very calculated method. Crop circles are a language unto themselves. Okay, now how to find them? Quite frankly, a plane is your best bet, because you got to look down to see the size of the things.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like, somebody with a drone.
Yeah, playing a drone. Yeah,
right.
Gives you an idea where mine goes when it comes to technology.
Keith,
a little backwards.
Keith, we're down to 45 seconds with you tonight. And Nicole, thank you for your great job tonight. Keith, what were you up to, or what are you up to? Where can people find your books?
Well, the easiest way to do that is on my YouTube channel, R Keith Andrews. At the bottom of all my YouTubes, I've got a whole list of contact information there. And that's the quickest way. Of course, if you drop me a line on Facebook, you can find me there. I've got a hand carved UFO that I use for a picture.
Makes sense.
But that's the easiest way. Or of course, contact you directly.
All right, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us as our special guest tonight. Appreciate that.
Anytime, Dave. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
And Keith, always a pleasure. We will talk to you next month on the next edition of the ET Connection, my friend. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Lots more Spaced Out Radio coming up. Good show, guys. Good show.
Woo-hoo. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody in the chat.
All right. Thank you, guys. I got to run here. I got to get the news ready. Good night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a Space Traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you have missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on at Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, we have the Newswire. Oh, yeah. We have Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the downright awesome. Good for you, America. 7 years after former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden blew the whistle on the massive surveillance system of American telephone records, an appeals court has found the program was unlawful and that the U.S. intelligence leaders who publicly defended it were not telling the truth. In a ruling handed down, the U.S. Court of Appeals from the Ninth Circuit said the warrantless telephone dragnet that security and secretly collected millions of Americans' telephone records violated the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and may well have been unconstitutional. Snowden, who fled to Russia in the aftermath of the 2013 disclosures and still faces U.S. espionage charges, said on Twitter that the ruling was a vindication of his decision to go public with evidence of the National Security Agency's domestic eavesdropping operation. I never imagined that I would live to see our courts condemn the NSA's activities as unlawful and in the same ruling credit me for exposing them, Snowden tweeted. Yes, evidence that the NSA was secretly building a vast database of U.S. telephone records, the who, how, when, and where of millions of mobile calls, was the first and arguably the most explosive of the Snowden revelations published by the Guardian newspaper in 2013. Up until that moment, top intelligence officials publicly insisted the NSA never knowingly collected information on Americans at all. After the program's exposure, U.S. officials fell back on the argument that the spying had played a crucial role in fighting domestic extremism, citing in particular the case of 4 San Diego residents who were accused of providing aid to religious fanatics in Somalia. U.S. officials insisted that the 4 were convicted in 2013 thanks to NSA's telephone record spying. But the Ninth Circuit ruled that those claims were inconsistent with the contents of the classified record. The ruling will not affect the convictions of the people. However, the court ruled the illegal surveillance did not taint any evidence or introduce to their trial. Nevertheless, watchdog groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, which helped bring this case to appeal, welcomed the judge's verdict on the NSA spy program. Today's ruling is a victory for our privacy rights, the ALCU read in a statement, saying it makes plain that the NSA's bulk collection of American phone records violated the Constitution. The NSA discontinued its program for collecting metadata in bulk in 2015 after Congress passed the USA Freedom Act. Under the law, bulk phone records could only be accessed by investigators with a judge's permission. The NSA reportedly shut down its phone program entirely in 2018. Still a victory. A hair salon is causing a lot of ruffle right now, and it's not because of bad haircuts. No, this is what we have become in society now. I'm shaking my head here. We all should be shaking our head here. So this hair salon says it was told by a job center it couldn't run an advertisement recruiting a happy stylist because the word happy is discriminatory against unhappy people. Think about what I just said. They could not run an advertisement recruiting a job for a happy stylist because the word is discriminatory against unhappy people. So now, according to this place, we're supposed to bring unhappy people who don't want to be there into a happy job environment. Where does this end? All right. Allison Birch listed a job ad looking for a part-time qualified hairdresser at her AJ's Unisex Hair Salon in Stroud, England. The position called for someone with 5 years experience working in a salon who is confident in barbering as well as all aspects of hairdressing. And then the advertisement made the unlawful mistake of saying this is a busy, friendly, small salon, so only happy, friendly stylists need apply. But this past Wednesday, Birch said she received a call from her local job center informing her they could not run her ad because the word happy is discriminatory. Birch claims the job center told her that the advertisement makes some people feel they cannot apply if they do not consider themselves to be a happy person. Birch shared the conversation she had with the job center on the salon's Facebook page. She claims the man at the job center said to her, "I'm sorry, but the word happy is a discriminatory word and we weren't allowed to use it as somebody who is not happy will be discriminated against." According to Birch, he then asked, should we change the word in case somebody thinks that they can't apply for the job because they aren't a happy person? Birch said she was questioning herself. Was I being a bit sensitive? And is the word happy discriminative? Or has this whole world gone mad? It has gone mad, Mrs. Birch. Mad. Plenty of Birch's customers agreed with her outrage over the job center's ridiculous stance on her advertisement. Karen Evans said, "This world's gone nuts. Does this mean that every descriptive word is discriminative? Happy, tall, smart, elegant, good luck with your search?" Julie stated, "I thought this was a joke, realizing it clearly isn't, and it has left me absolutely speechless. What has the human race come to? This is what happens when we give blue ribbons to everybody in elementary school, where there is no competition, there is no motivating people to try their best to work their butts off, whether it's for free or whether it's for a paycheck. This is what it's come down to. Happy is discriminatory. Discriminatory. Think about that. There's no way you can support that. If you support that, you're wrong. Anyways, before I blow up here, a 2-meter long sturgeon, a species today near extinction, has been found preserved in the pantry of a 500-year-old Danish royal shipwreck in the Baltic Sea. During archaeological excavations in 2019, a wooden barrel submerged inside the shipwreck revealed the almost complete and well-preserved remains of a sturgeon. Archaeologists from London University in Sweden wrote in a recent article for Journal of Archaeological Science, the discovery was possible thanks to its special characteristics of the Baltic, a semi-closed sea with low oxygen levels. The wreck is in such good condition because of the strange Baltic environment. The low salinity here is unsuited for shipworm, which eat wood in the world's ocean system. The seafloor is in fine clay, ideal for preserving organic material, and low dissolved oxygen levels further contribute to preservation of organics, said Brenda Foley. Denmark's King Hans sailed to Sweden in 1495 on his best vessel, the Gribsunden, the most imposing warship of the region, with the aim of restoring a union of the 3 Scandinavian countries under his crown. We interpret the fish not so much as a gift, but a prestigious play. One possible interpretation, and the one they liked the best in the study, considering the political nature of the entire voyage, was that he used the word happy. Someone did not like him using the word happy because it was discriminatory, so they sunk the ship. Yes. Terrible. Terrible, isn't it? Anyways, but the ship sank along with its precious cargo and part of its crew off the coast of Ronneby, a town that now belongs to Sweden, but at the time was part of Denmark. Hans was not on board at the time. The loss of the ship had to be a terrific blow to Hans's prestige and must also have materially affected his political and military strength. The union of the 3 countries did go ahead several years later. It was dissolved when Sweden seceded in 1523. Police in Maryland investigating reports of a castic photograph bobbing up and down in a river discovered the object was something far less macabre. Yep, apparently the photo showed a rectangular object with flat sides and a curved top floating in the South River, a tributary of the Chesapeake Bay near Annapolis. The concrete slab resembling a coffin sparked complaints of a possible hazard in the water. Department of Natural Resources police were dispatched to the river, hopped on a boat where a hydrographic operations team helped pull in what turned to be a floating dock in the water. Oh, this is so anticlimactic. Totally anticlimactic. No, it wasn't Uncle Sid or Aunt Edna floating down for one island in the stream. No, it was a dock. So they pulled their boat up to it to get it all out. Anyways, moving on. In Thorsby, Alberta, Mounties are looking for a thief who might be in some hot water. RCMP say 7 hot tubs have been stolen from an Arctic Spas manufacturing site about 70 kilometers southwest of Edmonton. They say a transport truck listed as being from Chateauguay, Quebec, pulled into the property Wednesday morning and the spas were loaded onto it. They say the truck had a false name and the spas were taken without authority. Police described the driver as Caucasian between 30 and 40 years old, standing about 5'6", with short brown hair and an unshaven face. The truck, a white Volvo with a sleeper, that was pulling a newer-looking flat deck, has all the hot tubs on it. No idea where it went. No idea if it came with hot water, even though there was no pumping systems involved. Who steals 7 hot tubs? Who does that? You only need 1. Okay, maybe 2. And then if you get one of those nice jacuzzi baths with a bunch of jets in it, those are kind of cool too. Those make for good bathing. Very, very good bathing. Anyways, a schoolboy is being praised for saving his grandma. Love this story. So this boy drove his grandmother for medical help after she began feeling shaky while they were out walking, and he's being praised for his heroism. PJ Brewer-Lay, who just turned 12, was driving his go-kart up and down the street while his grandmother was out for a walk near their home in Indianapolis last month when she suffered a medical emergency. Angela was about 1.5 miles from their house when she began to experience the symptoms of low blood pressure, included feeling shaky and seeing spots in her vision. When PJ, who was just 11 at the time, saw his grandmother struggling, he leapt out of his go-kart, jumped behind the wheel of her Mercedes so he could drive her to go get help back home. I was leaning against a bus stop sign, and all of a sudden I looked to my right and I saw my car, my Mercedes-Benz, coming towards me. Wait a minute, looked in the car. It was PJ, my grandson. Well, that's nice. That's nice. Angela explained that PJ noticed the quick change in her behavior and sprang into action to help before she had time to think. He noticed my demeanor, and that's when I guess he sprung into action, she says. Angela praised her grandson, who doesn't have a driver's license and isn't yet allowed to drive legally, for handling her car like a pro. For 11 years old, he did very well, revealing they often spend time together. Angela said he always rides either his four-wheeler, go-kart, or his dirt bike while I'm trying to get a little exercise in. The grandmother was appreciative of PJ's ability to stay calm and collected behind the wheel during her medical emergency. She explained that he learned to drive from her husband, who has asked him to move cars around in their yard before. However, he has never driven on the street by himself. Angela said he did not go up to the curb or in the grass, nothing. He just pulled down the driveway and into the garage. PJ told his grandmother that he chose her Mercedes-Benz instead of her other cars on the driveway because the keys were the easiest to reach. Good kid. Good kid, good thinking. Now, that's a kid when he thinks that good on his feet, quick on his feet, no pressure, not sweating, just did what he had to do to save his grandmother. That's a good boy. Very, very good boy. Not like that little fat porker who goes and steals his parents' car in Utah because he's got $5 and he wants to go to, California to buy a Lamborghini. Remember that kid? Stole his parents' car because they told him no. And then the little bugger was rewarded with a Lamborghini drive because everybody thought he was cute for doing that. Stole his parents' car because they told him no. Oh. Anyways, I remember that. Police and animal experts are warning members of the public to keep their distance from a group of buffalo that has escaped from a farm. The Piatt County Sheriff's Office said multiple buffalo escaped Wednesday from a farm near Monticello. Hey, that's where DJ Ashba's from. And authorities were able to wrangle all but 4. The buffalo, which escaped when a latch broke on a gate, caused school buses to be diverted to alternate routes while deputies attempted to capture the escaped bovine. I love that word, bovine. The sheriff's office warned residents not to approach the buffalo if they are spotted wandering loose, and Richie Wolf, the executive director of Rock Springs Nature Center, said the animals could be dangerous if they feel threatened. Stay out of their way. That is our main advice we could give anybody. They are a threat if you get between them and their calf, especially if they're not used to people. Well, we saw what happened to the lady with the wild bison, where she got her pants ripped off. Oh, yeah. Finally, tonight, authorities in Florida said a Florida man had to have his truck fished out of a retention pond outside of a courthouse when the driver's boot became stuck on the accelerator while attempting to park. Yeah, 64-year-old Largo man was attempting to park at the Pinellas Justice Center in Clearwater when his boot became stuck on the accelerator and the truck went over the curb, crashed through a fence, and plunged into the pond. The driver was able to exit the vehicle and return to shore safely with assistance from the police. He was not injured. A tow truck was brought in to fish the truck from the pool. Oh, let's go this one. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. If you were given one final meal, what would you order? Spookles the cat, cherry pie, pumpkin pie, blueberry pie, mixed berry pie, peach pie, cinnamon apple pie. I think she loves to eat her pie. Peter, 12-ounce New Yorker with grilled onions and mushrooms and topped with onion rings, hand-cut fries, double cheeseburger, and a hero. A Greek salad also. Any Greek dish my mom cooks goes out with a bang. Filth wants some ghost pepper wings. I'm in with you, Filth. Shanna wants breakfast for dinner. Terrible. Terrible. Quinoa, pepper steak, medium rare, mashed potatoes, corn on the cob, king crab legs, shrimp, french fries, hamburger, medium rare, barbecue chicken pizza, bacon, and a nice cold IPA, plus an ice cream for Sunday dessert. Ross wants chocolate chip cookies. All right, let's go over here. Heidi, a 700 course tasting menu that would last several years. Excellent. Chris, I want my executioner's soul. Beautiful. Bernadette wants pasta. Paul says dry aged rib, 16-ounce Yorkshire pudding in a good demi, while a pile of barbecue asparagus, small amount of garlic mashed potatoes, dark chocolate mousse, and finish with a quality bourbon and a cigar. Oh. Joshua, crispy buffalo wings. Oh, yeah. Got to throw some hot sauce on there, though. Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get it while it's hot.
Spudger, 1,000 Southern fried chicken with ketchup and 100 boxes of chips with paprika on them. Kevin and Kevin's Beard, 2 totally separate entities. I want snow crab. Lots of it. Dorothy wants a whole Thanksgiving dinner. Junior wants breakfast for dinner. Come on, Junior. You're better than that. Okay, I'll accept it if you give me an autographed guitar. Autographed by who, I don't know. Just an autographed guitar. J.A., whatever takes the longest to prepare. Tina, double pepperoni pizza, fried chicken with mashed potatoes, tons of gravy, chocolate ice cream, Long Island iced tea. Joretta, a huge plate of hot lumpia with fresh rice. The hell is lumpia? Daryl, all-you-can-eat lobster tail. Byron, chocolate cake, apple pie, chocolate ice cream, chocolate candy bar, since I can't eat these things now. Davy, a chickpea and okra curry, and I would love to have it cooked myself. Alex, crepes, mayo dumplings, Chicago pizza, cornbread, blue cheeseburger, spicy chicken wing sandwich, heroes. Yeah, this just got out of control. Christine, surf and turf, man. Surf and turf. Buddy, pot roast, mashed potatoes, gravy, a big piece of cornbread, and some steamed carrots. Barry Taff wants 2 large lobster tails. Kelly and Kelly's Beard, the greasiest bacon cheeseburger possible. Poutine to wash it down with the largest Dr. Pepper available. Oh. Captain Shirk, it'd have to be prime rib, baked potato, Yorkshire pudding, and some kind of vegetable, although the veggie would just be for show. If it's my last dinner, I'm not going to eat something I don't like. Oh, yeah, we're going to end it right there. Thank you to everybody participating in the thought of the day, but now making me hungry. Thanks to Captain Shirk for the great news on the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website, and to Nicole and R Keith Andrews for the ET Connection. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Everybody on our chat rooms in Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Rev Radio, Facebook, Space Travelers Club on our website, and at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your night with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. The Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Oh, that ain't any good. No, that ain't good either. Yeah, that'll do. There are 3 of them in there. Okay. All right. Give me a second here. Let me get all set up here. All right. What the hell happened? Why is that all going like that now? Weird. Wonder why that changed. Oh well. Weird. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. No, Fabster, it has nothing to do with the Canucks losing tonight. They got beat by a better team. I knew Vegas was going to take them out in this series. I just didn't expect that series to go as long as it did, and it was kind of exciting. You know? That's all. Number 3, right there. Okay. I am very, very protective of R Keith Andrews. Very protective. Okay. And imagine being a guy who has been bullied his entire life for being different. Okay? He's been bullied his entire life. And there was a comment by some guy who I've never seen in our chat room named David right at the beginning of the show, which was pretty harsh. Okay. And that really, really pissed me off. Okay. Keith is one of the nicest and most humane human beings that I have ever met. Yes, he is a little bit socially awkward. Okay. And but he is one of the biggest hearted human beings I have ever met. And so when I see people taking pot shots at him, that old hockey fighter in me comes out. Okay. And it angers me, and I get real angry real fast. Okay. The beautiful part about what we do on this show is we allow you, the audience, to choose whether or not you want to believe the guests. The only thing we ask for in return, and you can be snarky. I have no problem with snarkiness. I laugh at snarkiness. Okay. I love sarcasm. I love that stuff. Okay. But when it gets personal, that's where I fly off the handle. Okay. And, you know, most of you people out there haven't seen the human side of Keith. Okay. Where Keith will, hold on one second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where when I'm at a conference with Keith, it doesn't matter what we're doing, at exactly 8:59 p.m., Keith will leave whatever we are doing to go call his youngest son to say goodnight to his boy. And his son looks forward to that phone call when Keith is away, because Keith doesn't have a lot of money to take his family on holidays and to do a lot of things. But whatever he has, he gives to his two boys. And those boys love their father. And as a parent, I am envious, and I mean this in a very, very loving, caring manner. I'm envious of the father that R Keith Andrews is. Okay? His kids are number one. They are, they love their father. And you know what? No matter what Keith is doing, he drops everything to make sure those boys, even though he doesn't have much, to make sure those boys have the best life that he can provide. Okay? So when I see people who don't know him taking pot shots at him because they think he's a lunatic and a fraud and all of this stuff, I get my anger up real quick. And you know, it bothers me. It bothers me because Keith is such an amazing human being and a great parent. And I realize that being in the public eye the way I am and the way others are in this field, that we are open to criticism. We are open to everything. Okay. And I got big shoulders. I can take it for the most part. But, one thing that I always say, and Corin's the booking guy, and I have talked about this before. One thing that we got to remember here, okay, is the fact that it doesn't matter whether the guest is R Keith Andrews or someone bigger named and famous. For the SOR audience, we always have to remember that no matter whom the person is, whether we like them or not, or we agree with their position or not, okay, they have taken the time to come on our show and tell you what they think through their research, through their knowledge, through their experiences. And they have put their time into you as much as you have put your time into listening to this show. And it's very difficult when I see that type of disrespect, because basically anybody who takes a shot at our guests, okay, is taking a shot at me, is taking a shot at Corinth, the booking guy, is taking a shot at Spookles the cat, everybody on our team, my business partner, my radio stations, and I am very, very protective of that. There are so many things that I would love to do and love to say, in a number of matters, and I always keep quiet, okay, because that is the business way and the proper way of doing things. But, if it's something that somebody wants to take a shot at Spaced Out Radio or our name or, me as a host or whatever, they're allowed. I see it all the time on YouTube, and, I get that. But when it is taken at a guest, especially one that I know personally, and the comments are personal attacks against that person, okay, their time is just as important as ours, as yours, as mine, as everything. Okay. And we have to remember, even though it's hard sometimes, we have to remember that there are, we're okay to disagree. We're okay to be or to not appreciate someone's experiences or anything like that. Now, there are certain people who come into the room who come here just to snark and have fun. Okay, maybe some of their comments are suggestive. I let that go. Okay, sometimes it drives Corey nuts, but I let that go, right? Because we want to have free dialogue. We want to have, other things. But when it gets personal, that's where I get pissed off. Okay. And no, I don't agree, for the record, and Keith knows this, so this is nothing that I'm telling him or you differently. I'm not hiding anything. There's stuff that Keith says that I don't agree with. There's stuff that we've had Grant Cameron on, who I absolutely idolize and adore, that I don't agree with. We have Science Bob McGuire, who has come out and said things on this show and other private conversations that we have had where I don't agree with it. But we still have to show that modicum of respect and dignity that makes all of us in this giant team that we call SOR better than the other guys, better than the other super fans, better for everything that we do. Why? Because we're SOR. And every day we put that pressure on the line. We're not some dinky podcast where people have a big, Amazon list of buy me this, buy me that, buy me everything that I need in order to, if you buy me this, I'll work hard for you. And we don't do that bullshit. We've never done that bullshit. And, we work hard every single night. And that's why you people are here, because you recognize and appreciate the hard work and the professionalism. And, the reason why I kind of turned the camera to something else and I flipped the camera off is because I didn't want you guys to see me pissed off. And tonight I was pissed off. Okay. See, when you're in a position like mine, you're not allowed to be pissed off. You're not allowed to show emotion. You're not allowed, unless it's laughter, or if it's a sad story, a tear or something along those lines. Okay. But you're not allowed to show how you really feel. Every guest has to be treated the same. At least you try to. Now, there was the one guy who was stoned and drunk on the air, and I had to boot him off. Okay, that shit happens. All right, we can't control everything. We try and control as much as we can. Okay, but we can't control everything. And so when I see things like that, and I see people's feelings getting hurt, and especially someone whom I respect and care about, like Keith, okay, I react. I react big time. And I didn't want to show you guys my anger. Okay. And I have to personally, when I get like that, I have to personally calm myself down, because anger is a trigger of mine that puts me very quickly into a depression, and it gives me anxiety. And so I have to quickly figure that out and calm myself down and just be who I can be at that time. And I'm not perfect, okay, by any means. I am so not perfect. What was that? So if what did I do here? I hit the wrong button. Fuck a duck. So I folder upload. Desktop. 1 second here. Does that work? Holy shit, that might work. So anyways, I didn't want you guys to see me angry. I didn't want you guys to see me battling myself, which I was. Yes, Teresa, I do have gorgeous hair. And it's just something that I'm very protective of the people who support me, and that's it, man. That's it. I don't know. Don't know what else to fucking say. I just work hard, man. And where did that go? Oh, okay, there it is. There it is. Cool. I didn't know I could do that. No, Keith did not get pissed off. He just heard me go off. Defend him. And so Drake is not good, Teresa. I'll give you the Bieber stuff where he's finally looking healthy and looks like he's had a few burgers in his life again. But Drake is terrible. Sorry. He's terrible. Any hoodles. So that's the reason why, we're only human. And, if you're watching porno there, Bee's Nest, I hope it was at least free stuff and you're not paying for it. Anyways, yeah, Keith knows you love him. Keith does. He does. The other side of everything too is, and I said this to Corey when he asked if I was okay. And I said, yeah, just a little upset right now. And the one thing that I will always say is, with the criticism and everything that we get, and Corey made a good point. Let me just go back to this conversation. He goes, you okay? I said, I'm really angry and don't want to be on camera. He goes, cool, understand. And then he goes, things like that are the dark side of putting yourself out there. And we put ourselves out there. One thing that I will say to a lot of people, okay, is this. The majority of people who do what we do not get paid to do what we do. And in my case, I am not going to speak for anybody else. I'll speak for me here for a second. I put in to space, and I'm not saying this as a woe is me or anything like that. I put in approximately between 35 and 50 hours a week on Spaced Out Radio. And yes, Mr. Speed Buggy, we think we got the issue with the audio solved again for Michael. And I have a thick skin, okay? I do. You know, and I'm the one who is doing this, and I'm the one who is who my time, okay, and sorry for the buffering. There we go. It's tough when you put in that much time and you see someone beating the shit out of you, you know, and you wonder at times whether it is worth it or not. Why do you do it? You're taking away from family time. You're taking away from everything that is supposed to be important to live this dream we call SOR. And it's tough. I mean, for those of you who are parents out there, I'm sure there are some of you who have to work 2 full-time jobs, right? In order to put a roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on the back of your children. And it is very, very discouraging when one of those jobs you don't get paid for, and in the meantime there's certain people out there, not really in our chat rooms but YouTube and elsewhere, who will do anything to try and bring you down. And unfortunately those people are out there, and you know, whether they're doing it just to troll, whether they're doing it because they got a grudge, whether they are doing it because it's just who they are as people. I mean, shit kind of happens, right? Shit kind of happens. There's nothing you can do about that. All right? Nothing. You try and combat it. You try and ignore it. You try and move away from it. Ignore it. Do it. Whatever you feel you need to do. Right? So, I don't know. I really, really don't know. I mean, tonight it bothered me. Tonight it just hit me. And sometimes it does that. Sometimes it doesn't. You know, most of the time it doesn't. No, I don't need a Xanax, man. Don't need a Xanax. I'm coming down because I'm talking about it. So, either way, that's where it is. It's where it is. So, Bases on YouTube, Truth Cat Radio, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Not sure what that has to do with our conversation tonight, Bases. But thank you for coming on in. Next week, I don't know. Corn's the booking guy, has to help me update next week. I know Wednesday we have Science Bob and Friends, which will be our guest with Science Bob and myself. He's going to be the owner of the Skinwalker Ranch, Brandon Fugel. We finally got Brandon coming on. Varla Ventura comes on Thursday. I have no idea who we have Monday, Tuesday, or Friday, though. The following week, we are taking off because I'm redoing the studio here. Yeah, Corey, we gotta sit down this weekend, and I gotta fill out the schedule. I haven't had time to read your message, bro. That is completely my fault. Completely. I'm so behind on that in October. Excuse me. So, we got a lot of cool shit happening here very, very quickly, man. A lot of cool shit happening, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, that's what we're doing. God, I wish I could play some music. If it wasn't for the stupid copyright laws, and I fully understand them and respect them, because the keynote artists who are playing and creating the lovely music that I love, I would so play music. I want to play music, but can't. I just can't do it. I want to, but I can't. Want to, but can't. Want to, but can't. Yeah, it's the way it goes. It's the way she is sometimes. Gonna hopefully go check the gifting sites this weekend. Again, maybe Sunday or Monday. I'm curious to see how it goes. Apparently, though, we might have to wait 2 weeks or at least another week, because it takes about, I think, a week to 10 days to get the human smell off the items. So animals or creatures likely will not approach them because of the odor that is there, which would be my stinky body. Even though I'm not stinky, I use Irish Spring. Does anybody else use Irish Spring soap? I love Irish Spring soap. I always have. Excuse me. So, it's kind of where we are. I saw Nate Rudd in the chat room tonight. I use the blue and the green, not at the same time. But I love Irish Spring. It's good stuff. I don't even think we get dial up here anymore. Oh, yeah. Um... Corrins, maybe get a hold of Preston Dennett if you haven't for a couple of those dates. God, I'm so bad at this now. I used to be so good at this. I haven't gone over. We'll go over it this weekend, man. We'll go over it this weekend. The funny part about it is funny part about it is, Corey, every time you message, I'm jumping because I feel like the message go off of my cell phone with a vibrate. I'm like, ooh, what's that? What's that? Hard to believe it was 14 years ago that Steve Irwin passed away. God, I miss that guy. I think everybody in the world misses that guy. You know? Honestly. So, anyways, I'm going to go. I'm going to bed. Enough blabbing.